the only 5 isometric exercises you need for strong glutes after 50. Weak glutes after 50 are a much bigger problem than they appear. They affect your posture, your stability, your ability to move with confidence, and place enormous stress on the hips, knees, and spine. When people realize this and try to take action, they usually turn to traditional exercises with loads and repetitions that, at this stage of life, carry a considerable risk of joint injury. And as you can imagine, a hip injury after 50 is no small matter. It means surgery, months of immobility, loss of independence, and in serious cases, the beginning of a decline that affects everything. This video exists to tell you that you do not have to choose between effectiveness and safety. That is why today you will see 5 isometric exercises that deliver both. They activate the glute fibers deeply without any repetitive movement that overloads the joints. They are perfect for those who are already past 50. Before we begin, please leave your name and the city you are watching from in the comments below. We would love to know. Exercise number 1, isometric bird dog. The gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in the human body, and that is a fact that surprisingly most people never stop to think about. When it is weak after 50, the problem goes far beyond aesthetics. The entire posterior chain pays the price. The lower back takes on loads it should not, the knees lose stability, and posture deteriorates progressively. The isometric bird dog enters as one of the most intelligent exercises available for this audience precisely because it delivers 2 benefits at the same time. In addition to activating the gluteus maximus and gluteus medius and hip extension, it trains balance and motor coordination, qualities that decline with age and are directly linked to fall prevention. For those over 50, losing balance is not just a passing scare, it can be the beginning of a fracture that completely changes the trajectory of quality of life. A study by McGill and collaborators published in 2009 in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research identified the bird dog as one of the exercises with the best simultaneous activation of lumbar stabilizers and glutes, with low compressive load on the spine. This makes it safe even for those with a history of lower back pain, which is an extremely common unwanted companion in this age group. To execute correctly, position yourself on all fours with your knees under your hips and your wrists directly under your shoulders. Simultaneously extend your right arm and left leg until they are parallel to the floor, as if you wanted to touch 2 opposite walls with your hand and foot at the same time. Lock in that position for 20 to 30 seconds before switching sides. Keep your core engaged and your gaze directed toward the floor throughout the entire movement. Avoid looking up, as this naturally leads to hyperextension of the lower back. The key is to keep the hips completely level during the hold, without letting them rotate to either side. The main errors to avoid are letting the hip rotate toward the side of the extended leg, lifting the leg too high trying to gain range of motion, and relaxing the core in the middle of the isometric contraction. Any of these errors removes the work from the glute and transfers the load to the lower back. You will know you are executing correctly when you feel a deep, firm contraction in the glute of the extended leg and not tension in the lower back region. Perform 3 sets of 20 to 30 seconds per side, with 30 seconds of rest between each alternation. As the exercise becomes comfortable, increase the hold time to 40 to 45 seconds. The main contraindication is acute pain in the wrists or knees. In these cases, the exercise can be adapted with the forearm resting on the floor instead of the wrist, which significantly reduces the demand on those joints without compromising the work of the glute and lumbar stabilizers. Exercise number 2, isometric glute bridge. If there is one exercise that virtually every physical therapist, fitness trainer, and older adult health specialist agrees is indispensable, it is the glute bridge. And the isometric version, where you raise your hips, lock at the top, and hold the contraction for a set amount of time, is even more efficient than the dynamic version, especially for people who spend a lot of time sitting and present what is called a sleeping glute. This condition is extremely common after 50 years of age and occurs when the gluteal muscles stop being recruited efficiently due to prolonged inactivity. The central problem is that, once asleep, the glutes transfer the work to the lower back and hamstrings, creating muscular imbalances that eventually result in chronic pain and functional limitation. The good news is that the gluteus maximus responds very well to isometric work, and the glute bridge is the most accessible and efficient way to awaken this muscle. In addition to the gluteus maximus, it works the hamstrings and core stabilizers secondarily, making it a complete exercise for the entire posterior chain. And there is another benefit worth mentioning. As the largest muscle in the body, a well-developed gluteus maximus contributes significantly to the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption effect, which is the increase in metabolism in the hours following training. In other words, you strengthen, protect the joints, and still enhance caloric expenditure all at the same time. To execute, lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor at hip width. Raise your hips until they form a straight line between your knees, hips, and shoulders. Squeeze your glutes with maximum force and hold the position. The secret of the isometric version lies in the squeeze. Imagine you are trying to slide your heels toward each other on the floor without actually moving them. This seemingly simple cue significantly increases gluteus maximus recruitment and prevents the hamstrings from taking over the movement. The most common errors are hyperextending the lower back at the top of the movement, letting the knees fall inward during the hold, and relaxing the glutes before completing the set time. Hyperextending the lower back is particularly deceptive because it seems like you are getting higher, but in practice the glute disengages and the lower back takes on all the load, which can generate progressive pain with regular use. Perform 3 to 4 sets with an isometric contraction of 30 to 45 seconds, resting 30 seconds between them. As you progress over the weeks, advance to 60 seconds of hold per set. For people with lumbar disc herniation, the exercise is generally well tolerated, but should be started with shorter contraction times of 15 to 20 seconds, increasing gradually. Those who have had total knee replacement or have chronic knee pain should consult a physical therapist before including this exercise in their routine. Before we continue, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Having constant access to science-based information is what will help you progress with long-term health in the world of exercise. Exercise number 3, isometric step-up. The isometric step-up is a unilateral exercise, which means each leg works completely independently of the other, and that makes all the difference for those over 50. Unilateral exercises mimic exactly the movement patterns we use in daily life: climbing stairs, getting up from a chair, stepping over an obstacle, walking on uneven surfaces. These are precisely the movements that, when we lose the ability to perform them safely, make us dependent on other people for the most basic tasks of life. The isometric step-up primarily recruits the gluteus maximus and gluteus medius of the supporting leg, while also requiring significant activation of the ankle and knee stabilizers, making it an extraordinarily functional exercise for this age group. The stabilization of the pelvis during the exercise also intensely works the gluteus medius, and that detail matters a great deal. A strong gluteus medius is what keeps the hip level during walking, preventing the gait pattern where the hip drops to the sides with each step. This pattern, called Trendelenburg gait, is one of the major precursors of progressive knee and lower back pain in older adults and is directly caused by gluteus medius weakness. To execute, stand in front of a step approximately 6 to 8 inches in height. Step up with one leg, bring the opposite knee to hip height, and lock the position for 20 to 30 seconds, keeping the torso completely upright and the supporting knee aligned with the second toe. The more vertical and stable you remain, the greater the glute recruitment will be. Resist the temptation to lean the torso forward, as this relieves the work of the glute and transfers it to the knee and lower back, reducing the efficiency of the exercise and increasing the risk of joint discomfort. The main errors to avoid are leaning the torso forward, letting the hip drop to the side of the raised leg, and allowing the supporting knee to cave inward during the hold. The hip dropping laterally during the isometric position is a clear sign of gluteus medius weakness, and, if not corrected over time, creates a chain of compensations that eventually manifests as chronic pain in the knee or lower back region. Perform 3 sets of 20 to 30 seconds per leg. As you progress, increase the hold time to 40 to 45 seconds per side. This exercise is contraindicated for those with severe ankle instability, vertigo, or a history of falls without adequate supervision. In these cases, always begin with the support of a wall or railing until you gain the stability necessary to perform the exercise safely and independently. Exercise number 4, isometric sumo squat. The isometric sumo squat has a structural advantage over the traditional squat that most people do not notice at first glance. The position with feet wider than shoulder width and toes pointed outward creates a hip opening angle that simultaneously recruits the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, and hip adductors. It is like being able to work 3 muscle groups at the same time, without moving, without impact, without additional load. For those over 50 who need an exercise that delivers results safely, this is a nearly perfect equation. There is also a specific biomechanical advantage for this age group that few instructors mention. The wide stance is especially favorable for those with limited ankle mobility, an extremely common condition after 50 due to the natural reduction in tendon elasticity. The foot turnout facilitates the descent without lifting the heel off the floor, and keeping the heel on the floor is not just a technical matter, it is a matter of long-term joint health, as an elevated heel transfers excessive load to the kneecap and the interior structures of the knee. To execute, position your feet wider than shoulder width. Point your knees strictly in the direction of your toes, lower until your thigh is parallel to the floor, or as far as your mobility allows without losing posture, and lock in that position for 30 to 45 seconds, keeping the torso slightly leaning forward and the core firmly engaged. During the isometric contraction, actively push your knees outward as if you want to spread the floor apart with your feet. This cue significantly increases glute activation and prevents the knees from caving inward, which is the most dangerous error in this exercise. The main errors to avoid are letting the knees collapse inward, losing the natural curve of the lower back with the torso leaning excessively forward, and trying to go deeper than your current mobility allows. Knee collapse generates unnecessary mechanical stress on the ligaments and cartilage. If you notice your knees tend to cave inward, reduce the depth of the squat before attempting to increase the range of motion. Perform 3 to 4 sets of 30 to 45 seconds with 45 seconds of rest between them. As you progress over the weeks, gradually increase the hold time to 60 seconds per set. This exercise is contraindicated for people with acute knee pain, hip replacement with range of motion restrictions, or meniscus injury in the acute phase. Outside of these specific situations, it is one of the safest and most effective exercises available for this audience. Exercise number 5, isometric frog pump. The isometric frog pump is one of those exercises that at first glance seems too simple to actually work, but it has a very precise anatomical logic logic behind it. Performed lying on your back, with the soles of your feet together and your knees open to the sides like a frog position, raising and locking the hips in that posture, it isolates the gluteus maximus in a way that few exercises can replicate. The reason is anatomical and straightforward. The external rotation of the hip created by the foot position neutralizes the participation of the hamstrings in the movement, forcing the gluteus maximus to do practically all the work on its own. And for those who have spent years with sleeping glutes, that is exactly what is needed. This characteristic makes it especially valuable for those who have difficulty feeling the glute working in traditional exercises, a situation far more common than one might imagine. A study by Contreras and collaborators, published in 2015 in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, used electromyography to compare variations of glute exercises and identified that the frog pump produced greater gluteus maximus activation than the conventional bridge. This makes it a high-value tool precisely for those who need to reconnect with this muscle before progressing to more complex exercises. Regular practitioners report that after a few weeks with the frog pump, they begin to feel the glute working in other exercises where they previously could not perceive that activation. To execute, lie on your back, bring the soles of your feet together, let your knees fall naturally to the sides, raise your hips to maximum extension, and hold the position for 20 to 30 seconds with intense contraction of the glutes. Focus on actively squeezing the glutes throughout the entire hold, not just at the moment of raising the hips. This detail is what differentiates an efficient exercise from one that is merely executed correctly in a mechanical sense. The main errors to avoid are not raising the hips enough, relaxing the contraction before the set time, and letting the knees close during the hold. If the knees close, the exercise loses exactly what makes it special, which is the external rotation position that neutralizes the hamstrings. Perform 3 sets of 20 to 30 seconds with 30 seconds of rest between them. As you progress, advance to 45 seconds of hold. For people with hip pain or very reduced mobility in the hip joint, the range of motion can be reduced without significant loss of benefit, as long as the active contraction of the glutes is maintained throughout the entire set time. These 5 exercises already form a complete and efficient routine for strengthening the glutes after 50 with total safety. But if you want to go further and challenge the balance and functional strength that these muscles need to have in the real world, I have prepared a bonus exercise that combines glute recruitment with proprioception at a level that none of the others can achieve. Bonus exercise: isometric single leg deadlift. The isometric single leg deadlift is, without exaggeration, one of the most complete exercises available for those over 50. It works the gluteus maximus of the supporting leg with high intensity, but goes far beyond that. It simultaneously challenges balance, proprioception, and the strength of the ankle and knee stabilizers, critical competencies for fall prevention. And why does this matter so much? Because having strong glutes in a controlled exercise setting is of little use if, when trying to pick something up from the floor on one leg, or when going downstairs in a hurry, the body cannot organize itself safely. The isometric single leg deadlift trains exactly this integration between muscular strength and motor control that everyday life constantly demands. The exercise consists of locking the intermediate position of the unilateral deadlift with the torso leaning forward, one supporting leg slightly flexed and the other extended behind in line with the torso, forming a position that resembles the letter T. To execute, stand on one leg, lean the torso forward simultaneously as you raise the opposite leg, stop when the torso and leg are close to horizontal, and lock the position for 20 to 30 seconds, keeping the hips level and the core firmly engaged. A tip that makes a real difference in stability is to focus your gaze on a fixed point on the floor. This simple adjustment helps the nervous system organize balance much more efficiently, especially in the first days of practice. The main errors to avoid are rotating the hip of the raised leg upward, letting the supporting knee lock completely into hyperextension, and losing spinal neutrality by leaning the torso excessively. The rotated hip is the most frequent error and indicates that you are trying to gain range of motion at the expense of posture, which reduces glute recruitment and increases the risk of lower back pain with continued practice. Perform 3 sets of 20 to 30 seconds per side with 40 seconds of rest between them. As you progress, increase to 40 to 45 seconds of hold per side. This exercise is contraindicated for those with vertigo, intense peripheral neuropathy in the feet, or severe imbalance. In these cases, begin with the support of a chair or wall positioned to the side until you develop the stability necessary to perform it safely and independently. If you enjoyed this and want to discover the best stretches to undo years of neglect on your own body, we have left a video appearing right now on the screen showing each one of them in detail. Make sure to check it out. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and may God bless you, my friend.